Why do all the other board game channels pick non-strategy games for their top 10 strategy games list? I don't get it. When I do a YouTube search for the best strategy games of all time, I'm getting confusing results. I'm getting games that aren't strategy games that have strategy in them. All games have strategy, so you can't just say best strategy games of all time and then just pick any game you want. That doesn't make sense. I'm seeing games like The Crew, a trick-taking game, or Brass Birmingham, which is a great game, awesome game. I love it, I own it, but it's not a strategy game per se. It's more of an economic game. It's an engine build. It's route. It's not strategy. So anyway, I decided to make my own list, my top 10 strategy games of all time. I'm going to explain how I define a strategy game, and it's how everybody should define a strategy game. We'll go down my list and I'll talk about why I picked the games that I picked. At the end of this video, I'm going to be doing my 500 subscriber game giveaway. We're giving away 2 games, 2 lucky winners, and let's begin. So the word strategy is devised from the Greek word strategia, which means the art of a military general. From as far back as 600 AD, and includes skills in military tactics, logistics, and conflict between adversaries. A strategy game should make you feel like you're the commander of an army, like you're a military general. You're not trying to figure out a puzzle. You're actually battling an adversary that's playing the same game as you, a strategy game, back and forth between an adversary. According to game theory, a strategy game is a game in which players' decisions are uncoerced, so unaffected by other people. People can't make you do something. They're autonomous, so that means you choose them yourself. It's not a cooperative game. It's not, okay, well, let's let the group decide and we'll vote on what we're gonna do. That's not the type of game. That's not a strategy game. The decisions that you make have a high significance in determining the outcome. So that means that it's not a high luck game. It's not chance. It's not something else. So these are the criteria that I use in determining my list. First, a strategy game should give you the feeling of being a military general, where you're in the military conflict with an adversary. So every game on my list will give you this feeling. Even if it's not specifically a military theme, it still gives you that feeling. Your skills and tactics need to matter. So I didn't pick any games that are high in luck. I didn't pick Monopoly, I didn't pick Scrabble. I didn't pick any games that were solo or cooperative games. So I didn't pick Pandemic or The Crew. So a solo game is more like a puzzle. You're trying to figure out, how do I defeat the puzzle? Same thing with cooperative games. You're going against the game, so the game is presenting a puzzle that you need to solve. And sure, there's strategy in how you do that, but it's not a strategy game under the classic definition of a strategy game, which is the definition that I think we should be using, because otherwise you could just call every game that's ever been made a strategy game. I also did not pick any games that would be better classified as another genre. So worker placement. So I didn't pick Agricola, because even though there's a lot of strategy in that, it's a worker placement game. I didn't pick any economic games. I didn't pick Machikoro, Brass Birmingham. I didn't pick any engine builders like Terraforming Mars. I didn't pick any games that were too abstract, where it was so abstract, didn't give you that military strategy feeling. So I didn't pick Azul. I didn't pick Castles of Burgundy. So my final determining factor is if it's not fun, if it doesn't have you really wanting to come back, I didn't put it on my list. So every single game on my list is a game that does that. It has you wanting to come back for more. And without further ado, let's get to my top 10. All right, here we go. For my number 10 game, this is an ancient Chinese game. It's over 4,000 years old. It's got simple rules, it's easy to learn, but the strategy is deep. If you've never heard of this game before, there's a documentary that came out recently. It's called AlphaGo, and it's about the game of Go. The goal of the game is you're trying to control more of the board than your opponent. Just go back and forth, placing these stones anywhere you want on the board. A normal board, this is a 13 by 13, this is a beginner board, and the original proper size board, tournament size board, is 19 by 19. If you're looking at the strategy of this game, watch that documentary, AlphaGo. There's a AI computer that just now, within like the last 4 years, has been able to beat the toughest human competitor of this game in the world. So we had Gary Kasparov was defeated by the IBM computer Deep Blue back in the 90s. It's been 20 years. It took 20 years for computers to go from being able to beat a human in chess to being able to beat a human in the game of Go. That's how much deeper and more complex the strategy of this game is, even though it's less complicated as far as the pieces go, as far as the rules. There's only one type of piece. You don't have a bunch of different types of pieces. All these pieces are the same. Super neat game. So real quick on the strategy of this game, in general, you want to start off with the corners. So you want to try and block off pieces of the corners. Then you want to go for the edges, and then you want to combat in the middle. Stones can never be moved once they're on the board. So once they're on the board, it has to stay in that spot on the board. Black always goes first, so it's the opposite of chess. Black goes first, and then white goes. And if you surround one of your opponent's pieces, so say we had these 4 pieces here, and they were surrounding this white piece. As soon as I place a piece down to surround that piece, then I capture that piece, and then that goes towards my points. When you count up the points in the end of the game, the points are how many intersections you control. So each one of these intersections, these lines, is called a point. If you control the most points at the end of the game, then you win. You control a point by having that point in your territory. If you've got a corner of space here like this, completely surrounded, then you control every single point in that territory. How can you not put the more strategic game, a game that took a computer 20 years longer to figure out how to beat a human at, on this game versus chess? Feel like you're the general of an army. You're trying to take territory. You can capture pieces. So even though you're just putting stones on a board, you still feel like it's a military strategy type game, and that's what we're going for with this list. So my number 9 game is also an abstract strategy game, but it still has that military type feel to it. You're on a board battling. It's very chess-like, but it also has some luck in it. So chess, for instance, doesn't have any luck at all. Go didn't have any luck at all. This game does have a little bit of luck, but not so much that it detracts from the strategy of the game, but enough where I did put it lower on my list. This game is called War Chest. War Chest is a very good game, very good strategy game. It's fun to play on Board Game Arena. If you want to check it out before buying it, try it out on Board Game Arena, because then you don't have to set up the game. You can see how it plays. You can do the strategy, the tutorial, and then jump right into the game. But if you like poker and you like feeling poker chips in your hand and your fingers, you're going to like this game, because this game has poker chips in it. And in fact, if you see how I've got my game set up, here's the bags. This is the bag building mechanic. So you put your poker chips in the bag, and then you draw and you see which one you get, and that's the piece that you're allowed to move on the board. The game ends as soon as one team places their last control marker. Game board is really cool. It is kind of a diamond shape right there. There's the game board, and you set up your poker chips. Look, I even bought a poker case, and it's got all of your pieces that you have. So this one is pikeman. There it is. Each one of these has a different symbol on them. There's a swordsman, a pikeman, a crossbowman, a light cavalry, archer, cavalry, lancer, scout. There's 16 different units you can start with. And every time you start this game, you can do a random drawing. So you have cards that you can pass out and do a random drawing to see which units you start with. Or you can each take turns selecting 1 or 2 of the units at a time, back and forth. It's like chess, because each piece, you have these little cards. So the cards will show you every time you're playing what movement each one of your pieces can do. And this game is very strategic, and it's important to know not just what your pieces can do, but what your opponent's pieces can do. And there's definitely certain units that are stronger than others. You'll figure that out when you're playing, or if you are playing on BGA, you'll see that they're always the first ones that are taken. Ones that are good are the crossbowmen and the archer, because they can shoot from a distance, but they shoot with different rules from a distance. So those are good ones to always have. There's the lancer, The Lancer is a real good one. That's usually taken a lot because it has a bigger movement. You can move 1 or 2 spaces and then attack all in a straight line. So that's all in one thing. Cavalry, you can move and then attack. So these are pieces, the Lancer and the Cavalry can move a space and then attack, whereas the other ones, they can only move, let's see, like a Light Cavalry. Light Cavalry can move 2 spaces, but then it can't attack right afterwards. So certain units are better than others. Oh, Berserker. Berserker's probably one of the best ones. After the Berserker maneuvers, you may maneuver it again by discarding a bolstered coin from the Berserker unit. So the Berserker, you can stack up underneath it. It's called bolstering. It basically is increasing that unit's health. So if it gets attacked, it's going to lose one of those bolstered tokens. And if it goes all the way down to nothing, you lose the unit. The Berserker can spend one of those. So it chips away at its own life in order to do another attack. And that makes it one of the most powerful pieces in the game, which is pretty cool. You gotta think of like the TV shows or movies where there's always a Berserker and he's just going nuts and he's got scars all over his face and a giant axe and he doesn't care. He's gonna get hit a few times, but he's going all the way through the line and he's gonna take some people out. It's a good strategy game. It's a real strategy game. This is abstract, but it's also makes you feel like a military general going against another military general, and that makes this game awesome. So the bag building mechanic adds a little bit of luck to it. Knowing what you're going to draw or knowing what your opponent has the ability to draw is important. Oh, replayability in this game is huge because you're always changing. Every time you play the game, you're going to pick different units, so you have to know how to play well depending on which units you pick, and also what is a good defender against the units you pick. One of the most important parts of this game is just selecting your units and watching which units your opponent is selecting. That's going to be huge in whether or not you win or lose this game. It's still a well-balanced design. Even if you think you have the best units going against your opponent, there's still some trickiness in this game. There's direct conflict, there's strategic blocking. So there's expansions for this game that give you new units and new mechanics. It does go up to 4-player, but it's definitely best played at 2. My strategy for the game, I kind of went over a few of the strategies. My advice is just play it, try it out on Board Game Arena, see if you like it. Having the poker chips, setting this game up, they look really cool. They feel really cool to have on the board. And the box itself is like a chest, opens up. All right, the next game I have on my list, the number 8 best strategy game of all time, in my opinion. Of all of the games that I own, this is definitely one of my favorite board games that has good miniatures if you like painting minis. This is a game about Norse mythology. It combines Norse mythology with strategy. You're fighting. It's Ragnarok. The earth is coming to an end. There's lands being destroyed. It's a 2 to 5 player game, and each person plays their own clan, and you slowly build up stats of your clan. It's got some luck in it where you pick cards as far as your draft, but it still feels very much military. Even with the luck that's in the game, there's definitely strategy in picking which cards for your strategy, and then depending on what you get, because you're not going to get everything you want, figuring out how to best utilize what you do get to still win the game. And this is Blood Rage. So Blood Rage has really cool minis. I'm actually still painting some of them out in the garage right now. Here's the player mats that you play on. So each clan, love the artwork. The artwork in this game is incredible. So there's one of the clans. So this is the Serpent clan here that you see on the front. This is the Bear clan and the Raven clan and the Wolf clan. And then you've got different ages that you play through. So there's the first age, the second age, and the third age. At the end of the third age, you see who wins the game. Based on points, this is kind of a Euro-ish game where you've got the point track going around the outside of it. But you get points based on your battles in the game and who controls more territory. So this is an area control, territory control game. So when you're placing your pieces down, you see where other people are placing their pieces. You decide which lands you want to go for, because as you're fighting for these lands, there's going to be random tokens in these little squares here that tell you what reward you might be getting that will help you boost your stats for your clan so that they're better and stronger for the next age. Those stats that you boost are going to be these stats down here. So your rage, your axes, and your horns. End of the game, The player with the most glory wins. I like games that allow you to upgrade your pieces. The amount of fun I get from upgrading my pieces, like in this game where you can upgrade your clan's strength, that's just a really cool mechanism. I always love that in games. So the strategy on these games is a lot about what your cards allow you to do, which clan upgrades that you have. Each one of these spots is an upgrade spot that you can put your cards on, and you can upgrade your leader. You can upgrade, there's 3 different spots to upgrade your clan. There's a ship upgrade, so part of this is the strength of your ship. So each one of these circles on the board, these little cities, you can put your pieces on to signify your strength in that area, your military strength in that area. And the same thing with your ship in these fjords. You can upgrade your ship, and then you can also have 2 different monster upgrades, and that's where some of the coolest looking pieces in this game are. At the end of each one of the ages, there's the Release Valhalla sections, and each one of these ages you just go in order. So you deal 8 cards to each player, and you draft until each player has 6 cards. You discard the remaining 2 cards. Then you set the rage to the clan's current rage stat. You take turns performing 1 action at a time, paying the rage cost associated to each action. You continue until all players have 0 rage or all provinces are pillaged. So that's where the action comes in this game. The action comes from, I want to pillage this province here. And when you announce that, that gives everybody else time to start moving their pieces in there. But you can only have as many pieces as the land can hold. So some lands can hold 5 pieces. There's 5 circles in there. Some lands can only hold 3. So all players with figures in the battle choose and reveal 1 card. Add your strength bonus to your figure's total strength. The highest total wins the battle. If a pillaging player wins, you gain the pillage reward and flip the pillage token. Winning player gains battle glory equal to his axe's stat. This is one of my favorite games to play, not just to show off the pieces that I've painted, but also because there's some fun strategy in this game. So this is my number 8 best strategy board game of all time. My number 7 game they think is going to be cute and cozy, but is really a military strategy game at its finest. It has asymmetric gameplay. It has strategic depth in the way that you're interacting within the game board itself, but also with the different factions in the game. How you interact with one faction is going to be different than how you interact with another faction. Everyone has a different goal that they're trying to achieve in order to win the game. It's cute and it's fun, and you can trick your friends and family that like cutesy, fun, cozy games into playing Root. And it really is a good strategy game. It really is a war game. This game has a ton of expansions that you can get for the game that add new factions to the game. Marquis de Cat, there's Eerie Dynasties, there's Woodland Alliance, there's the Vagabond. Those all come with the base game. So in Root, 2 to 4 intrepid players attempt to rule a fantastic forest kingdom in the ultimate asymmetric game of adventure and war. And you win this way, you win this way, you win this way. Once you get through the teach, once you get into how to play the game, once it starts making sense, and if you want to try this out online, I've got a couple of friends that play this game a lot online. They love it online. So that's a really good way to get into any game before you buy it, and also just to practice the game and learn the game before you play it. Definitely on my list because of the strategic depth. I love the asymmetric factions that really change it. Unlike in the last game, number 8, my number 8 was Blood Rage. All of the clans, even though each clan has a different name, each clan you all start out the same. So each clan isn't something different. This is a game where you've got clans, and each clan that you have is completely different. The Vagabond is just one piece. You have one little unit out there. The Marquis de Cat, there's cats everywhere. You have to play each faction to really understand how to play this game well. So you're not going to really get this game on your first playthrough. But once you do, it's a lot of fun, and you can try out other factions. There's, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many expansions there are. And that is my number 7. Man, number 6 is one of my favorite games ever. So I am really excited to get to that one. Number 6, best strategy board game of all time, in my opinion. I would be happy playing this game pretty much every night. It's a game where you get to play as an Egyptian god, and you're commanding your god and your servants, the people that are worshiping you. They're your army, and you're going around. You're on a map. You're in Egypt, and you're controlling monsters, and there's upgrade cards so you can upgrade your god, which makes this an asymmetrical game. So this takes the best elements of Root, the asymmetric part of Root. You're still playing out on a map, you're still trying to defeat opponents, but it's a little bit simpler. It's not as complex as Root in the fact that you don't have different goals you're trying to achieve. Everyone has the same ultimate goal, and you're fighting over territory control, and it's really who can develop the best strategy on the map and with the upgrade cards that you choose to win the game. A lot of fun. Every time I play this game, I have a blast with it, and this is Kemet. It just looks cool. This is the newer edition of Kemet. It's Kemet Blood and Sand. Let me just open it up real quick. Also, quick trick, anytime you're opening a box, always open from the wider side, not the smaller, shorter side. It will always open a little bit easier for you. What are these strategies? You can play Anubis, the Egyptian deity of mummification and the afterlife. You can play as Horus, the Egyptian war deity, god of kingship, healing, protection, the sun, and the sky. You can play as Wadjet, the ancient Egyptian snake-headed goddess, symbolizing Lower Egypt, closely associated with the Eye of Ra, a powerful protective deity. You can play as Bastet, the Egyptian cat deity, worshipped in Lower Egypt, originally as a lioness goddess, a role shared by other deities such as Sekhmet. Or you could play it as Sobek, which is the ancient Egyptian deity associated with the Nile crocodile and is represented either in its form or as a human with a crocodile head. Those are the Egyptian deities that you can play as. You've got these little cancellation markers for the board that will block off part of the game board depending on how many players you are playing with. So these are the boards in the game that you use to upgrade. You get prayer points. The prayer points are basically like your currency. So the more prayer points you have, the more currency you can use to purchase things like better upgrade card abilities. For instance, this one here costs 4 prayer points, whereas these down here only cost 1 prayer point. So the goal of the game is to win fame points. So this is the scoreboard here, and you have to win by having the most fame points. You get fame points by either winning a battle as the attacker, or if you win a battle as the defender, and you have the defensive victory tile, which is the blue tile level 3. So usually as a defensive victory, you don't get a fame point, but if you have that special tile, you do get a fame point. You can sacrifice 2 units at the Sanctuary of All Gods. So if you control the territory that's the Sanctuary of All Gods up here at the top, you can kill 2 of your units, sacrifice them, and then you'll get a permanent fame point there. If you're temporarily controlling certain areas, you get temporary fame points, so those can be taken back from other players to try and get enough fame points to win the game. But permanent fame points you get from winning the battle as the attacker or as the defender with defensive victory tile, sacrificing 2 units at the Sanctuary of All Gods, controlling the Sphinx creature, blue level 4 tile, and a lot of these things. So a lot of these tiles, what they do is they'll boost your troops' offense or defensive capabilities. They'll boost its, or they can boost its movement. So some of these cards will increase your movement distance. Instead of moving 2 spaces, you can move 3 spaces, etc. Each level 4 pyramid you control, you get a fame point as well. Oh, and then during your battles, you have cards that you can use to add to your battle, to either add defense to your battle or to add movement. During a movement phase, you've got, so you're always going to be battling back and forth in this game. This is not a game of just sitting by and trying to collect resources or trying to do something like that. This is a game where you benefit. The more you're going off and you're attacking other players, the more aggressive you are, the more confrontational you are in this game, the more likely it is that you're going to come out as the winner. This is one of those games that has the classic pull-down mechanic where, as you notice one person take off in the lead, the other 3 players in the game are going to start going after that person that's in the lead. So whoever's in the lead has to really try to defend themselves against everybody else. So it takes 9 fame points to win, And as soon as someone's getting close to the end, 6 or 7, and other people are at 5 or 4, everyone's going to be going after that person that's in the lead. The power tile system. So these power tiles allow players to upgrade their factions in various ways. You can enhance your armies, improve their movement, give them new abilities. You get creatures. As asymmetric as the game becomes, the more you go on, the more power tiles you get, the more asymmetric the game gets. As you get towards the end, it's still very well balanced. Every single power tile that you get in this game makes you feel like, oh my gosh, this is huge. I'm gonna win because I've got this awesome power tile. But each one of them is so awesome. Each one of them makes you feel that way. So every time you play this game, you think you've got the best tile. This is gonna be the best. And it really feels like it. Even if you lose the game, you still feel like you were super powerful. That's why this game is so much fun, because even when you lose, you still feel like you were this super powerful Egyptian god. And man, if the game turned out just a little bit differently, you know you could have won. You're excited to play again. Maybe if you change this strategy or do this different, get a little bit of luck here with where they went, next time you're going to win for sure. The next game on my list is my number 5 favorite strategy game of all time, and this is a 2-player only game. I think it's 2-player only. It's probably definitely best played at 2 players. I don't know how you would play it with more than 2 players. Anybody that likes sci-fi, space battles, strategic gameplay, asymmetric factions. One side is trying to kind of run and hide and only fight if they have to. The other side is definitely searching. This is a hidden movement game. This is a combination of so many different great elements of games that not a lot of the other games on my list have. I don't think there's another game on my list that has hidden movement like this. Look real quick. Yeah, no. This is the only game on my list that has hidden movement. This is a game for Star Wars fans. It's kind of like Risk or Axis and Allies. You get to place more troops on the map and try to defeat the Empire, or if you're the Empire, you're trying to defeat the Rebellion. This is Star Wars Rebellion, and this is an amazing 2-player game. Highly recommend it. 3 to 4 hour game. You're either playing as the Empire or as the Rebellion. If you're playing as the Empire, then you're putting your ships out on the map. You're trying to find, you're basically like landing on every single planet. You're going, are you here? Do you have any 2s? Is the Rebellion here? Is this the Rebellion base? You're searching, you're trying to find that Rebellion base. Of all the games on my list so far, this is the first game on my list that my wife loves to play, which really surprised me because she's not really big into strategy games. She likes some of the strategy games, but a lot of my favorite games, she's not that into. Certain games like Go, she's given that a try. War Chest, she didn't like it at all. I have to wait for other friends to come over that do like that type of game for me to play War Chest. Blood Rage, she likes, but not her favorite. Root, she gave it a try. She's willing to give it another try, but she didn't like it the first time she played it. Kemet, same thing. She didn't really like it. I was so surprised. I love Kemet. I was like, oh my gosh, how do you not like this game? It's so cool. But it's just not her style. Everybody's different. So she didn't like Kemet, but Star Wars Rebellion, she loved. I was surprised. She loved playing it. It's a long game. She doesn't like playing long games. This takes a while to set up. It takes a while to play. And she loved playing this game so much that she wanted to play it again. She asked to play it again after we played it the first night. So anytime I find a game that she really enjoys is worth mentioning, because I think that helps other people out there who have the similar situation that I do. We've got kids. My kids aren't really old enough yet to be able to play these deeper, more complex strategic games like this. Anytime my wife loves a game like this that is so high on my list, it is a definite plus. This game's fun even if you don't like complex strategy. This game is good for casual gamers too. If you just like the Star Wars universe, you get to build a Death Star. You get to play as the Empire, build Death Stars, blow up planets. That's fun. My number 4 pick, best strategy game of all time. If you're looking at the situation right now in the world where you've got the US and Russia having proxy wars all over the world, in Africa, in Europe, with Ukraine, all the horrible death, tragedy that's going on in the world, but in the world of strategic war games, going back and looking at how historical battles have played out. It's a fun mental exercise. It's interesting, and I love it when games teach you history. This is a game that makes learning about this history very fun. I'll just tell you the name of the game is Twilight Struggle. It is about the Cold War. It is about the US and Russia and how we were both partaking in coups all over the world, playing world leaders, world domination, trying to decide how things are going to happen. USSR versus US, communism versus democracy, capitalism versus socialism. It makes it exciting in that you have to try to prevent nuclear war. You're trying to prevent the apocalypse, nuclear disaster. It's a card-driven game, so really you're changing the amount of influence you have over certain areas in the world. There's a map that you can see right there. You have a limited amount of influence that you can place in areas on that map. If you control with enough influence those areas, then it gives you more points. It's an award-winning game, International Gamers Awards, Best Modern Era Board Game, Best Historical Simulation Game. It goes from the end of World War II to where it ends in 1989. The Arab-Israeli conflicts, which we've got that going on right now. Vietnam conflict, the peace movement, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the space race. Your goal is to end up with more influence, more world influence than your opponent, and at the same time not be the cause of a nuclear war. If you are the one that causes a nuclear war, then you automatically lose. DEFCON 5 is peace, and then there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you play certain event cards, it will lower the DEFCON status. And if you are the one that triggers DEFCON 1, then you automatically lose the game. It's very historical. There's presidents, there's lots of events. It's like the Cold War meets chess. Each card in the game represents actual historical events, from the Berlin airlift to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Provides a rich historical narrative that educates players about the period. Another cool thing in this game, if you like bluffing, if you like deception, that's one of the things in this game. You don't know what your opponent has, so everybody knows the collective events that are in this game. So the more you play the game, the more you learn the events, the better you're going to be at this game. These event cards, they make sense historically. Ananda Gupta and Jason Matthews did an excellent job in creating a game where the event cards, the effect they have on the world, it makes sense. I like story that makes sense in games. It's the Cold War, and it feels like you are actually playing the Cold War. It feels like what you're doing is the Cold War. Just like in politics, in real life, there's bluffing involved. You want to speak softly but carry a big stick. Hold back those key event cards and save those for when you need them. Save them in case your opponent has a certain card and you want to be able to play this card after they play that card, and you don't know if they have that card. They're acting like they do. Do they really? If you don't have that awesome card, make them wonder that maybe you do. If you do have that awesome card, make them think you don't. The game also has high replayability. Not only can you play either side, but every time you play, you're going to get different cards dealt for each age, and you have to figure out the strategy depending on the cards that you're dealt, depending on the cards that you get in each age is going to change the strategy of the game you play. So every time you play this game, it's going to be different, it's going to be more fun. Another cool thing about Twilight Struggle is end game scenarios. There's multiple paths to victory. You can win by the space race, or you can win militarily or influence wise, or you can win by controlling Europe. So there's 3 different ways that you can win this game, and that makes it more fun. Or you can lose with the DEFCON track. So there's multiple ways that you can win or lose this game, different every time you play. You can choose the strategy you're going for. So that's it for my number 4 best strategy game of all time. Now we're getting to my number 3 favorite strategy game. It is a World War II game, world domination type game. There's a lot of strategy in this game. There's pieces, there's a map, there's military production. I have loved this game since I was a kid. I think I was probably in middle school or early high school the first time I played this game. I fell in love with it, even though it's a game that takes a long time. It takes almost all day long. You have to prepare for a game like this, and if you're teaching somebody that's new to the game, not that difficult of a game to learn. It's pretty simple, but there's different versions of this game. This game is Axis and Allies. My favorite version is the version that's used in tournaments. Most commonly around the world, the number 1 version of this game is this 1942 second edition And I've got the new Renegade Game Studios edition of this game. I've got another YouTube video where I did an unboxing of this game if you want to check it out. This is World War II, spring 1942. The world is at war. 5 major powers struggle for supremacy. Germany and Japan are allied against the Great Alliance of the United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and the United States. So it's designed for 2 to 5 players. I think the game plays best as a 2-player game head-to-head, but you can play it with up to 5 players, each player taking control of one of those 5 powerhouses. The Axis is Germany and Japan, and the Allies are the United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and the United States. The game is set in 1942, which is the high water mark of Axis occupation. This game's cool because you start out with the Axis powers having the most military in the areas that matter, but the Allies quickly ramp up their production. So if you are playing as Axis, you need to be strategic, tactical, and make big moves early on, and you need to win in the first turns of this game, because if you don't, chances are the Allies are going to win. The Allies, you need to play defense right away. If you're playing as Axis, if you're going to win this game, you likely need to be winning early on. Whereas Allies, the longer the game goes, the Allies usually win the game because the Allies have time to get all the production. America gets more involved in the war. They're allowed to produce. They're able to get more troops out there where they need to be. Whereas Axis, if you want to win as Axis, you got to try and win fast, hit hard. Allies, stick it out, defend, and just wait for your economy to build up and for you to get those troops back. You're going to take some losses in the beginning, but if you're strategic in what you lose and plan for it, then you have a good chance of winning. I love this game because there's so much strategy, there's so much depth, and there's tournaments, and there's the best players in the world, there's awards. It's really cool. You can study these different openings, and the strategies are always changing, and this game does have luck in it, dice when it comes to deciding your battles, but it's not as bad as a game like Risk, where you can just have horrible luck every single time. There's actually the tournament version of how to mitigate the chance of the dice rolls is really cool, where depending on how many troops you have going against someone else's troops, you just basically use the dice for the remainder, like what's left over after the battle, as opposed to deciding the whole battle with the dice. And then you can also use handicapped in these games, where if you're playing against someone that's new, you can give them a little handicap, give them extra units to start with, and that makes the game a little bit more fun for new players. What better strategy game is there than world domination and seeing who comes out as number 1? That is why this game is so much fun. It takes a long time to play, but it is worth it every minute of this game. If you have a group of people that enjoy playing a game like this, set aside the whole day. This is one of those games where you gotta say, okay guys, we're coming over at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna have donuts and coffee. We're gonna have some breakfast, whatever. We're gonna play this game for a few hours, and then we're gonna take a break for lunch, have a couple of beers. Then we're gonna get back into the game, and then we're gonna have barbecue and ribs afterwards. And hopefully we'll be done with the game by the end of the day. That's what you gotta be prepared for with a game like this. But it is a blast. It is so much fun to play, and it is worth it. When you look at World War II and you see where all the troops are in the world, they did a really good job with this game showing you, okay, this is where, the biggest navies were. This is where the biggest Air Force was. This is where all the tanks are. This is where all these pieces were in the world at this time. These are the production facilities, and you learn the geography of the world. You learn where certain cities matter, certain parts of the world matter more based on where the power was in the world in World War II. And the tactics of this game, thinking, planning, okay, I'm gonna build, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna take out his navy, or I'm gonna build a bunch of tanks. I'm gonna build a bunch of infantry. They're better for defense. I'm gonna build infantry and artillery. They're good for defense. I'm gonna build tanks. I can just run through all of Africa and take over all of Africa really quick and take control of Africa if I have enough tanks. Whatever the tactics are in this game, you're planning on where you're putting your chess pieces and which countries you're gonna put which chess pieces that you're developing each game. Super cool, really like it. My number 2 favorite strategy game of all time is up here, over here. You see it if you look. And will be the free game giveaway at the end of this video that I'm doing to celebrate 500 subscribers. I think this morning when I looked, I was at like 509. By the way, this video has taken me a long time to make because I want to have time to play games too. So my focus is always first, primarily on my family. Family always comes first. Don't ever forget that. That's why I like board games, is because it helps you connect with your family in a fun way. This game is like chess with bugs. It has openings. It has simple rules. You win by capturing the queen bee. Ants have their own certain move. A grasshopper has its own certain move. A ladybug or a mosquito have their own certain moves. If you play with that expansion, the game is incredibly strategic and tactical. Just like in chess, you can pin somebody's piece to their king where they can't move that piece anymore. In this game, you can pin another player's bug to the hive, and that's the name of the game, Hive. And I have two different versions of Hive. I've got Hive Carbon and Hive Pocket. These are little hexagonal tiles, 6-sided tiles, little pictures of bugs on them. They're like having dominoes. If you like the tactile feeling of dominoes, then you'll like this game. This is the Hive Carbon, which is black and white, has a classier feel to it. Each player starts with their own color pieces, so you'll either be white or you'll be black. I've got Hive Pocket, which comes in an even smaller bag, and they're just smaller pieces, and this one is colored. There's the colors right there. You have to place the queen in the first 4 moves of this game. If you want to check out how this game is played, check it out on BGA. That's how I've played this game a lot, to learn the strategy. There's a really good YouTube channel. He goes into the different opening strategies. He wrote a book, just like chess. In chess, you've got books on the openings of chess, right? Hundreds and thousands of books out there about chess. Well, there's freaking books out there about Hive, a relatively new game compared to chess, which is, what, like 1600 years old? Hive, this is the new chess. It's chess with bugs. You're putting your bugs in the middle. They connect, they make a hive. You can't break the hive. You try to surround the opponent's queen. If you surround the opponent's queen on all sides with a combination of your pieces and their pieces, or all your pieces, then you win the game. This game has the simplest rules, but is super strategic, and the games are quick. You can play a game, you'll be done in 5-10 minutes, and then you can play again, then you can play again, then you can play again. The depth of the strategy in this game is so much like chess. Love it, love it, love it, love it. If you are a chess player and you like playing chess, you're gonna love this game. That's why I made this my game giveaway. I like this game so much. I have it in Hive Carbon, and I have it in Hive Pocket, and I bought another Hive Carbon and another Hive Pocket on purpose just for doing the game giveaway, and I'll talk about how to win one of these games at the end of my video. The strategy in this game, you're just taking turns placing pieces, just like in chess, but instead of starting off with all your pieces on a board, you can play this anywhere. You can play this in the middle of the airport, you can play it in the desert, you can play this anywhere where you have a flat surface is all you need. You just bring your tiles. I'll show you these tiles really quick just so you can see the difference in the size of Hive Pocket. So here's Hive Pocket, half the height, half the width, about 1/4 the size. And really, I think that makes this one the better one to have, to be honest. I just love this game so much, I wanted to have the big version of it for if I have somebody over and I just wanted to show them the giant pieces and play the classier, classic looking black and white. This one's a ton of fun too. This is just as fun. I might even like this one better with the colors. Definitely smaller, easier for travel. It's the travel size version. The strategy, the tactics, the blocking is just so much fun. You have to play offense or defense. You have to, as soon as you see what your player's move is, it's like chess, you know, are they attacking? Do I need to defend? Or are they defending and I need to put on another attack? And every time you decide on making a move, you got to think 3 steps ahead. Okay, well, let's see. I know they have this many of these bugs left, this many of these bugs left. Well, they could play, if I do this, they could do this. The more you play, deeper your understanding of the strategy and the tactics, just from the thought process. Just studying this game is fun. And one of the greatest things about this game is my wife loves to play it. She loves this game. How many games are there that that you and your wife agree on compared to disagree on. I think that on average, there's probably more games that we disagree on. She loves this game and I love this game, but I think her game's stupid. She thinks my game's stupid. That happens more often than games that we really, really like together. Played on BGA, you can do a move really quick. While I'm at work, I pop my phone out really quick. I see she made a move, I make a move. I think this game has lasting ground. Just like the other top games on my list, I think number 3, Axis and Allies, I mean, it's been around for decades. That game has staying power. This game here also has staying power. I think that it's going to go viral one year. There's already tournaments with this game. It's going to be all over the world. This is Bug Chess. This is a good game. Highly recommend it. That's why I made it my game giveaway game, because I know if you give this game an honest chance and you play it with someone else that gives it an honest chance, you're going to have fun playing it and you're going to want to play it again. And it's so quick. You can get 4 or 5 games in a row and feel like you just started and you're like, where did the time go? Man, we've been playing for an hour, 2 hours. We've been playing this for 2 hours. My gosh, how many games did we play? 7, 8, 10? This game is awesome. I think my pick for the number 1 greatest strategy game of all time will come as no surprise to anybody that has been paying attention to my list. But before I get to that, I'm going to go over some honorable mentions really quick of games that didn't make my list and why they didn't make my list as the top 10. Diplomacy. Diplomacy, I think, is a very strategic game. I love it, but because of the fact that you're playing against so many other players, if you play it right and you got 7 players, you're at the mercy of who's gonna backstab who. So it's more of a diplomatic social deduction game than it is a pure strategy game. Even though the moves are 0 chance, there's no luck in the game whatsoever. You make a move if you have enough support to back your move, that's more support than the other person that's defending that spot or also trying to move in and take that spot. If you have the most support, then you're gonna win. It's very simple, very basic. There's openings just like in chess. It's a super strategic game and I love it, and I almost put it on my list. But the reason I didn't make the top 10 was because it's too reliant on social deduction and diplomacy, because you're just one of 7 powers and it depends on what other people do too much to where your choices of your strategic and tactical movement is not the most determining factor as everyone else's choices of what they do and who's backstabbing who. So that's why that game didn't make it. El Grande is another honorable mention. El Grande didn't make the list because I just haven't played it enough. I think there's definitely an element of chance in the game, and I don't know if it's too much chance, but that is a game that might be on this list if I make this list in the future after I have more time to play that game. Another game I haven't played enough of is Dominant Species. I haven't played Game of Thrones, and that's a game that I do want to play. I think that I will like that game. Another one, War of the Rings. So if you are more of a Lord of the Rings fan than you are a Star Wars fan, War of the Ring is a similar thing. It's asymmetric. You got 2 armies battling over a large area, but you've got one much more powerful army going against one much weaker army, but the weaker army is also playing a little bit of hide and seek. There's hidden movement, luck, and cards. That might be a game that would make this list in the future. The other one is the Coin Series games, as an honorable mention just because I haven't played any of them and I want to, and those might make this list in the future if I like them as much as I think I will. Nefertafel is Viking chess, which is actually older than chess, but I think it's just a little too simple to have made the list, but it is a very fun game and I highly recommend Viking chess if anyone hasn't played it. It's a lot of fun to play. And then we're now getting to my number 1 pick. So my number 1 pick should come as no surprise to anybody that's paid any attention to this list so far, and that is chess. Chess is the number 1 strategy game of all time, hands down. There have been more books written about chess than any other board game in the world, has had more tournaments, has had more world influence. And for anybody out there who doesn't agree that this is the best strategy game of all time, I went ahead and did some research, and I've got some statistics for you. First is about chess's global reach. Over 600 million people worldwide know how to play chess, making it one of the most popular games on the planet. Number 2, chess has a long history. It has a recorded history of over 1,500 years, originating around 6th century AD in India, where it then spread to Persia, the Arab world, and eventually to Europe. Number 3, cognitive benefits. Studies suggest that playing chess can increase a person's IQ. One Venezuelan study involving 4,000 second-grade students found a significant increase in their IQ scores after only 4.5 months of systematically studying chess. Number 4, as an educational tool, over 30 countries incorporate chess into their country's educational curriculum, recognizing its benefits in enhancing critical thinking and problem-solving skill. Number 5, professional players. There are approximately 1,700 chess grandmasters worldwide, a title awarded by the FIDE, the International Chess Federation, which represents the highest level of achievement in the game. Number 6, World Chess Championships. The World Chess Championship has a storied history dating back to 1886, making it one of the oldest sporting events in the world. Number 7, chess tournaments. There are over 10,000 sanctioned chess tournaments worldwide each year, ranging from local competitions to international championships. Number 8, chess in academia. There are more than 2,000 scholarly articles that explore the implications of chess on cognitive development, strategic thinking, and educational methodologies. Number 9, online presence. Chess.com, one of the largest online chess platforms, reports having over 50 million registered users, with around 5 million games played every day, just on one platform, chess.com. Number 10, cultural influence. Chess has been depicted in over 2,000 films. References to the game appear in the works of Shakespeare and other historical literature, indicating its deep cultural impact. Chess is the ultimate strategy game of all time, bar none, in the world. If I could pick one game that I couldn't teach my kids any other game, this would be the game I would teach them. And I already have. I've started teaching every single one of my children how to play this game, and they love it. They enjoy it. I hope that they enjoy it for the rest of their lives. I hope that they can use this game and have it be influential in their lives. I've been to offices of some very high influence people where they have a chess game in their office. It's a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of strategic thinking. It's impressive. If you are someone that doesn't like chess, I say give it a chance, give it a shot again, because there's some books that I highly recommend. This is Yasser Serouin. He's got a whole bunch of books in this line. There's 6 books aside from this one. So this is the first book, Play Winning Chess. Start with this one and then get his openings and then get his endings and then get strategies and tactics. He explains really well just the fundamentals that you need to think about to have fun playing this game. You don't have to be somebody that just memorizes the openings. Will memorizing openings help you? Sure, but only so far until someone doesn't do the move that you expect them to do. And if you don't memorize every possible move, then it's going to trip you up when they do that. It's much better to understand why this opening does what it does. Understand why controlling the center is more important. So the more you study this game, the better you get, and you can rank yourself with a point system, so you know on like chess.com exactly where you rank compared to other players. The more you play the game, the higher your rank is going to go, and the more likely it is, if you meet somebody that plays chess in the real world, a friend of yours, a family member, a boss, and you're a better chess player than them, that is impressive no matter how you slice it. If you can beat somebody in chess, that is an impressive feat, and I don't think there is any other game that is more impressive than being able to beat somebody in chess. There's no other game that has had the influence that chess has had around the world. I don't think I'll ever put another strategy game above chess, ever. So you can just go ahead right now and put chess as #1 in all my future strategy games. Now let's get to the game giveaway. The game giveaway, Hive Pocket or Hive Carbon. There's going to be 2 winners. So here's Hive Carbon, here's Hive Pocket. I've got them both. When I pick the 2 winners, the first person that responds to me saying which one they want will get that one. All you got to say down in the chat below what it is that you like about Hive. Say Hive and then say something else. Tell me something about this video that you liked, something that you didn't like, whatever. If you didn't like it, then I'll just block you. No, just kidding. Tell me what you want to see more of and help me get to my next game giveaway, which will be at 2,500 subscribers. And I think I'll do 3 winners for that game giveaway. Thanks a lot.